I wasn't supposed to be home early that afternoon, but my final client cancelled last minute, and my boss gave me the green light to clock out. Excited to surprise my wife, Haley, I drove home and parked 2 blocks away. It wasn't because I was suspicious, at least that's what I told myself, but something dark was tugging at my gut. I even stopped to pick up her favorite tiramisu. As I walked up our front steps, I froze. Thrown beside the entrance were her red high heels. Haley was obsessively neat. She never left shoes by the door. Worse, the front door was unlocked. I pushed it open silently. R&B music echoed from upstairs, the exact playlist she only used when setting a romantic mood. Then came the sound, her distinct laughter, accompanied by a man's deep voice, and the rhythm of bodies moving. My knuckles turned white around the bakery box. My heart pounded in my ears like a sledgehammer. Part of me screamed to turn around and run, but a primal drive forced my feet up the stairs. The bedroom door was cracked open. Through the gap, I saw everything. Haley was entangled in our sheets with a muscular guy covered in sleeve tattoos. I dropped the tiramisu, and it hit the floorboards with a thud. "So this is what you meant by working from home, Haley," I said, my voice cutting through the air. She shrieked, yanking the covers over her chest, while the guy casually reached for his jeans. There was no guilt on her face, only pure annoyance. She rolled her eyes and said, "Nathan, you weren't supposed to be here." I stood there, stunned by her composure. She brushed her blonde hair back and casually stated that we had talked about this, claiming she needed space and wanted an open marriage. I snapped, reminding her that she had claimed to be overwhelmed and figuring herself out, not asking to sleep with strangers in our bed. Haley tilted her head patronizingly, telling me we had an open marriage, this wasn't cheating, and that I should actually be grateful she was still my wife. When her partner chimed in telling me to chill out, I lunged, but Haley jumped between us, calling me a psycho and claiming that if I were more of a man, she wouldn't need to look elsewhere. That sentence shattered something deep inside me. I looked at our wedding photo above the bed and realized my entire marriage had been a lie. I didn't scream or punch a hole in the wall. A cold, quiet clarity washed over me. I turned around, walked down the stairs, and left. I spent hours driving aimlessly through the city, in complete shock. I had been completely devoted to her, bringing her flowers every Thursday, staying home, building a life, while she turned our home into a playground. Sitting at a 24-hour diner, my phone buzzed with a text from her. "I think we should talk tomorrow when you're calmer. I didn't mean for you to find out that way." She wasn't sorry for the betrayal, only that I had ruined her timing. The next morning, I returned to the house while she was out, determined to find answers. Hidden deep inside her closet, behind a stack of sweaters, I found a black shoebox containing a burner phone. Unlocking it revealed a hidden life, photos, explicit video logs, and message threads with 4 different men spanning over a full year. One man called her his road wife, while another mocked me as her loser husband. She was using me as a stable prop for financial security, while living out her wild fantasies on the side. When the front door clicked and Haley walked in holding a smoothie, I held up the burner phone. Instead of apologizing, her eyes narrowed, and she demanded to know why I was going through her private property. She accused me of being possessive and outdated, claiming she was a modern woman exploring her needs because I was boring and predictable. When she added that she only stayed out of pity, I stopped speaking entirely. I packed a single suitcase, grabbed the burner phone, and walked out while she yelled at me not to forget my pride. I spent the next few days in a cheap motel, methodically sifting through the evidence on the burner phone. I discovered a video she recorded on our last anniversary, a day she had cried with apparent gratitude during a private vineyard tour I organized. In the video, filmed right in the vineyard bathroom, she blew a kiss to the camera and joked that she had to go back and pretend to be a wife for a few hours. That was the final straw. My sorrow hardened into resolve. I called a divorce attorney, backed up every message and video file, and prepared to untangle my life from hers. 3 days later, Haley ambushed me in the parking lot at my office, putting on a dramatic show of tears for my co-workers. When I pulled her aside, her fake sorrow vanished, replaced by anger that I had walked away without letting her control the story. She slapped me across the face, gasping that I made her do it. Unbothered, I looked her in the eye and told her I was filing for divorce and keeping the house, the car, and my assets. The mask slipped completely as she realized I held all the cards. Word of our separation spread, and Haley immediately launched a social media campaign, painting herself as a free spirit escaping a restrictive marriage. She posted artistic photos about healing and growth, generating sympathy from people who had no idea what she had done. But behind the scenes, the reality was crashing down on her. One of the men from the videos, a guy named Caleb, actually reached out to apologize, revealing that Haley had convinced him we were in an open arrangement and that I was seeing other people. He offered to testify on my behalf. When I ran into Haley at the grocery store a month later, she tried to play the role of the compassionate ex, smiling and telling me she admired my strength. I cut her off, letting her know that she hadn't destroyed me. She had simply exposed her true nature. That night, her lawyer received the complete archive of evidence from my attorney. Realizing a public court battle would destroy her curated reputation, Haley surrendered entirely, signing away all claims to the house and assets without a fight. Even after the ink dried on the legal papers, the emotional wake didn't disappear overnight. I spent weeks rearranging the house, painting over the walls that held memories of her, and replacing every piece of furniture she had touched. The silence in the house used to feel deafening, like a ghost haunting every hallway, but slowly, it shifted into a clean sanctuary. I threw myself into my work, reclaimed long-neglected hobbies, and adopted Buddy, a golden retriever who brought unconditional warmth back into my daily routine. I stopped looking backward, realizing that the hardest part of betrayal wasn't losing the person, but grieving the version of them you thought was real. Every morning, walking Buddy through the crisp morning air gave me a sense of grounding I hadn't felt in years. The neighborhood felt entirely different, without the constant, underlying anxiety of trying to satisfy a woman who could never be content. Friends who had drifted away during my marriage began trickling back into my life, admitting they had always felt Haley was controlling and manipulative, but didn't know how to tell me without causing a rift. Rebuilding those bonds helped patch the lingering hollow spots in my chest. I began traveling again, taking weekend road trips by myself just to enjoy the silence, the open road, and the freedom of making decisions without having to walk on eggshells or seek approval. Eventually, through mutual friends, I met Emily. She was genuine, grounded, and possessed a quiet warmth that felt like a breath of fresh air. We built a connection slowly, anchored in transparency and mutual respect. When I eventually opened up about my past, she didn't offer pity. She offered real understanding. She never made me feel like I was carrying baggage, only that I was a man who had survived a fire and come out stronger on the other side. Our conversations were effortlessly honest, lacking the exhausting games and dramatic grandstanding that had defined my marriage. Out of nowhere, months after the divorce was finalized, Haley tried one last-ditch effort to reach out. She called from a blocked number late on a rainy Tuesday night, her voice stripped of its usual arrogance. She sounded small, complaining about how her friends had moved on and how the men she chased had turned out to be hollow. She whispered that she missed our stability, asking if there was any universe where we could talk again. I didn't feel anger, nor did I feel revenge. I simply felt nothing at all. I told her that the man who loved her had died the day I found that burner phone, wished her well, and hung up for the final time before blocking the number for good. Over time, the ghost of Haley faded completely. The residual bitterness evaporated, replaced by genuine gratitude for the painful lesson I had learned. Emily and I continued to build a quiet, honest life together, grounded in real trust rather than performative perfection. Standing in my peaceful living room on a quiet weekend morning, looking out at the yard with Buddy sleeping near my feet and Emily smiling in the kitchen, I realized that surviving the lowest moment of my life was the very thing that opened the door to true happiness. Caught in the ultimate betrayal, I hadn't broken. I had discovered my own true strength, reclaimed my dignity, and built a future far brighter than the past I left behind.